Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill. It is Sunday late morning. I don't think many Auburn fans saw this one coming. Hand up, I certainly didn't see this one coming either. Going with Alex Golesh. And look, I can't get up here and promise national championships. I can promise you one thing about Alex Golesh. No, I can promise you two things, actually. Number one, this offense is going to be dynamite to watch. I don't think there's a more creative and dynamic offense than what you see down there at USF. Number two, I can promise you this guy competes, and he is going to absolutely work his tail off on the recruiting trail. He ain't going to be playing a lot of golf like Hugh Freeze did. It is probably the best way that I would put it. I am very, very excited to see if Alex Golesh, given the resources necessary, can go out and win at a really high level, because I think this is a guy that – was he my number one option for Auburn? No. Am I very excited to see how it plays out? Absolutely. Now, here's what I want to do before we even get into this one, because, Dill, I don't think a lot of people saw this one coming. Auburn fans, vibe check in the comment section. Please let it fly. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And Dill, I'll say one thing about Alex Golesh here. We are going to have a lot to talk about. This guy's going to work on this roster in a very big way. Dill, the T-box is yours here. Alex Golesh heading to Auburn. How are we feeling about it?
Yeah, and I think this was the right move. I do think you needed to probably bring in an offensive guy. That probably would have been my preference, frankly, for this Auburn program. Just having watched it for so long, really underperform on that side of the ball. And Hugh Freeze, as much as that was kind of his forte, I don't think he's the play caller that Alex Golesh is. And like him coming up under that Heupel tree, it's just – you've seen him have incredible offensive success at both his stops at UCF and then obviously at Tennessee. I think you're kind of right. You're going to play really good offense. I do think DJ Durkin, that's going to be a really interesting storyline to follow. Can they keep him?
Because that's the biggest question mark you have with Alex Golesh is, look, I mean, you look at USF's offense this year, I should say, 41.2 points per game, fourth best in the country, 6.9 yards per play, top 5 in the country. I trust Alex Golesh to move the football and score points. The question you have is, what's going to look like on the defensive side of the football? Can you retain DJ Durkin? Can you retain some of those difference makers? Because if you can do that, and we'll see what happens. And
I don't think DJ Durkin's necessarily like the end-all, be-all, but I do think he really smooths this process, like in terms of maintaining the roster, maybe maintaining some of those big-time recruits like the Braylon Womacs of the world. I think DJ Durkin, like him staying on staff, I think gives Alex Golesh like a lot of wind at his back. Where, again, I'm not saying Alex Golesh fails if he doesn't retain DJ Durkin, but I do think it's probably a longer potential process to kind of get this thing up.
Because if you retain DJ Durkin, I feel good about retaining a lot of that young talent on defense. And I feel good. This is what I feel good about. I feel good about Auburn being pretty damn good on defense in 2026. Well, guess what? I also feel pretty damn good about with Alex Golesh. Alex Golesh being able to score points in 2026.
And I think he'll get that quickly. Like, I think he'll flip on a dime.
And, we'll get into that in a second. I want to say this, though. And it's so hard, man. I've been lost on the message boards for the last 4 weeks. This was one of the things I saw, is that Auburn really, really liked John Sumrall. The sticking point is if Auburn was going to hire John Sumrall, they wanted to keep DJ Durkin on the staff. And it sounds like that was a sticking point for John Sumrall. And so me reading through the tea leaves here, pivoting late to Alex Golesh, maybe you feel good about DJ Durkin staying on the staff. And I think you're right by saying it's not a must. You know, if you lose DJ Durkin, you want to go hit. And here's the thing, $7.5 million a year for Alex Golesh, 7.4. You're going to have the resources to go out and get a defensive coordinator that you think's really damn good, whether that's DJ Durkin, whether that's somebody else. But man,
I will caveat this too with, I know DJ Durkin, like there was some momentum with him as the head coach. I'm not 100% sure that would have been the right move. I do think you probably need a little bit of a different voice, because even though the defense has played well for the most part, there still feels like there's some messaging in terms of like why it's not making plays at big moments, like Auburn just being allergic to kind of winning football games. I do think there, and again,
you saw it last night, Dill. And look, hand up, man, hand up. I wanted DJ Durkin to beat Vandy, and I wanted DJ Durkin to get it done in the arm, and I wanted DJ Durkin to be the next head coach at Auburn, but it became very, very apparent, specifically last night, we need a little bit of a change, right? I think I saw an Auburn tweet last night, team's just a little bit allergic to winning. They need a little bit of a changeup, and Alex Golesh is going to be that changeup that maybe some Auburn fans are looking for. Here's the other question, Dill. Does he get the resources that Hugh Freeze gave? This was the sticking point for me throughout this process. People acting like Auburn's not just an extremely attractive job. I mean, Arkansas made a big run at Alex Golesh. There's a reason Alex Golesh waited for Auburn here. Look at the resources that Hugh Freeze was given. He was given everything he needed to have a roster that could compete at the top of the SEC. Hell, you saw that roster, right? Very competitive against Georgia. Very competitive last night against Alabama. Does Alex Golesh get those same resources? Because if he does, you combine that with his work ethic. And I kind of want to talk about the talent acquisition because that matters here. We say this all the time. I mean, the Auburn fans know it better than anybody because you go back to the Brian Harsin era and it's like, didn't matter how good or bad of a coach Brian Harsin was. He did not recruit at the level necessary to put yourself in a spot to compete where Auburn wants to compete in the SEC. If Alex Golesh is given those resources, I firmly think he'll work harder than Hugh Freeze on the trail. I mean, this guy came to USF, and USF was in a bad spot. Hadn't made a bowl game since 2018, and he's going head-to-head with teams like Florida and Miami and Dill. In fact, what happens with USF a lot on the trail, they'll land a kid as a junior, and then he'll have a really good senior year in Florida or Miami will come up and scoop him up. That doesn't happen at Auburn. That's another reason I'm excited for Alex Golesh here. And here's the question.
I do kind of like there's elements of being at kind of those lower levels. And frankly, he's kind of got the best of both worlds. Like he's spent his time in the likes of a Tennessee, and he got to see a program builder like Josh Heupel, who I think is very underrated in terms of what he does. Got to learn a bit from him, but also got to like kind of learn how to really get into the weeds and identify underrated players and develop underrated players. And credit to him at USF has done an unreal job of it. He's not just out talenting guys. Like, again, there's coaches who have maybe just worked their ways up through the Georgia pipeline who, you like that they can recruit. You like the brand name they kind of bring and the equity in that side, but you don't necessarily know what they are as coaches. I think Alex Golesh, there's an element you have experience in those big time programs, but also like, he's worked his way up through some of those smaller
there's
programs.
A track record, Dill. There's a track record of him being an elite offensive mind and a large track record at that, and also just being a good head coach. I had a lot of success at USF. Does he bring Byron Brown over? Redshirt junior played a part in having a very, very good offense for USF. I have a hot take. Can I start? I think he had success at USF in despite of Byron Brown at times. I don't think I think Auburn can do better at the quarterback position. And maybe you bring him over to Auburn with you because he's familiar with what Alex Golesh wants to do. But if you can retain Deuce Knight, and it's Byron Brown and Deuce Knight going into next year, feel pretty damn confident that, and I'll say this, I didn't even put this together. Deuce Knight in this Alex Golesh offense, kind of freaking money, dude. Byron Brown, I think he'll come over. I bet he will. And then if Deuce Knight stays, who do you think's the starting quarterback for Auburn in 2026?
I'd be stunned if it wasn't. I think you're right. I look at Byron Brown, like watching him, it doesn't feel like he is dominating that level because he is really, really good. I don't know. He's definitely not the athlete that Deuce Knight is. I certainly don't.
He's
think
a big. Well, he is.
I know he's big. I know he can be physical, but he doesn't move the way Deuce Knight moves in terms of like that ability to trade big plays in the run.
Sure.
To me, I think Deuce Knight would love to see him stay and love to see what he can do in this offense. Because again, I don't think you would add a ton of confidence, frankly, at this point that Hugh Freeze would have ever maybe gotten everything out of Deuce Knight just because of what's
no, I had very little confidence that Hugh Freeze was going to get. What did Hugh Freeze do in the 2.5 years he was at Auburn that would give you confidence that he's going to get the best out of Deuce Knight? Alex Golesh.
That's why I think you're like really hoping a big time offensive minded head coach who has done a really good job with quarterbacks in the past can get him rolling and again kind of almost pay off the groundwork that Hugh Freeze kind of did, if you will, on the recruiting trail for Auburn.
I would mean this with all due respect, and maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe there's a reason I'm just doing this in my basement, and there's a reason Alex Golesh is getting paid $7.5 million. Maybe Byron Brown comes to Auburn and is awesome. When I watched USF, and trust me, I spent a lot of my Friday nights watching this USF team. I always felt like Alex Golesh was scoring points at times in spite of Byron Brown. I'm excited to see what this offense looks like potentially with Deuce Knight. I think this hire helps you maybe keep Deuce Knight around. And maybe helps you keep some of the other offensive skill around. And look, I'm not going to bang the table to keep Cam Coleman around right now, but there are some guys that I would like to see around, Malcolm Simmons being one of them. It should be an attractive offense for some of these difference makers to stay around for. I mean, they stood around for Hugh Freeze for a couple of years. Why not give Alex Golesh a shot? This is a tricky one, man. In a little bit of an unexpected one. But I can, and here's the last thing. Can I give you a little insight on the roster building? Because I've actually listened to Alex Golesh talk about how he likes to build rosters. He's gonna bet on height, weight, speed, man. Like that is, he wants big, long, fast football players. And I think you're going to see that reflected. You're going to see Auburn betting on really good athletes, and we're going to try to put them in a system that allows them to be good football players. At the end of the day, man, you know what I say? Football is a size speed sport, and I expect this Auburn team to look really big and really fast over the next couple of years. We'll see how it plays out. Grade it, Dill. Grade it. I give a solid B+.
Yeah, that's I probably wouldn't go higher. And again, that's where it's tough because there weren't that many coaches who I think were on the market who were proven SEC winners. Like, I mean, it was probably Coach Drink or it was probably Lane Kiffin. Those were the only two out there. And again, they all come with their different dynamics, if you will. Alex Golesh, if you hit on it, it's a really fun potential. And I do think it solves the fundamental issue that Auburn's been under for many years, and that you're going to score some points, and hopefully you can continue to recruit in big time, bring in big time defensive players like they have for the past few years.
Hey, man, that's a really, really good argument to close it on is, why has Auburn struggled to maximize themselves as a program? You have never had the advantage as in play calling department. You've never had the advantage at quarterback. And I think Alex Golesh can help you in both of those. And if you give him the resources, because you know how I sit when it comes to coaching on defense is about the Jimmies and Joes, man. Like, you just have like big, strong dudes like what Jory, like, oh yes, Kirby Smart, Glenn Schumann, Dan Lanning. They were all great defensive minded coaches at Georgia. It did not hurt that they had guys like a Nolan Smith or Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, right? If you can recruit the bodies to defense, you'll be fine on defense. You have to get play caller right. I think you did here. We'll see how it plays out. Again, if Alex Golesh gets the resources that Hugh Freeze got, I think he can win some football games here, man. All right. Appreciate you guys. Very, very. And hey, to the Auburn fans, we're going to be breaking down a lot of portal commitments. We're obviously going to be talking about the coaching staff that he brings over. Going to have a lot to talk about. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later.